Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Phandelver and Below and the Shattered Obelisk as a brand new D&D canon hardback. There are no spoilers for Phandelver and Below and D&D for Phandelver and Below, the Shattered Obelisk. I want to talk about this D&D canon hardback from the perspective of something that happened with this specific D&D canon book that I think is really fascinating from the perspective of specifically from the perspective of where the OSR and really are and where Dungeons and Dragons is, and this is really fascinating. So, one, my human heartbeat has been replaced with the D&D canon hardback. That is when my heart actually beats. I get so much joy and pleasure from every single D&D canon hardback. And I'm going to admit to you, and I think everything that Hasbro is making is incredible, but some are better than others, right? So, Journeys Through the Radiant Citadel, probably the worst D&D canon hardback ever made. From 5th edition, D&D canon hardback from 5th edition. I think it was really bad. And the reason why is it was the only canon hardback they're like, we're not going to put in any new species. We're not going to put in any. We're not going to put in any new species. We're not going to put in any new magic items. We're not going to put in any new subclasses. It's just an abominable book, right? But it's still D&D canon hardback, and I love them because they're part of D&D history, right? So here's the issue with Phandelver and Below, the Shattered Obelisk. Here's what I noticed, and I'm curious if you noticed this too. The moment it hit, thousands of posts on YouTube, Twitter, Discord, Instagram, Facebook. I think that's all the ones that matter. And Discord is new. Reddit, okay? Every major social media site, everybody went and talked about it. People who love Dungeons & Dragons went and talked about it. People who despise Dungeons & Dragons. A lot of people in the OSR, a lot of people in the Indie who really hate Dungeons & Dragons, in my humble opinion. But they all went. And this is what I think I've learned from Phandelver and Below. And I wanted to share it with you. Here's my take, right? Where Dungeons & Dragons... This is the most important year in all of Dungeons & Dragons history, even bigger than when it was created in 1974. And the reason why is I think what you're seeing right now is an absolute catapult of Dungeons & Dragons past every OSR competitor and every indie competitor. Dungeons & Dragons had one of the most horrific years it's ever had. Starts with the OGL crisis, the Manic Panic. Continues with the Influencer Summit, right? Just the Pinkerton issue. The 30th anniversary reprint of the Black Lotus. You're like, wait a second, Scott, that's Magic the Gathering. Wake up, all right? Dungeons & Dragons is canon to Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is canon to Dungeons & Dragons. Absolutely nothing that happens on Magic the Gathering is not intimately tied to Dungeons & Dragons in every possible way, in my humble opinion, right? So, Lord of the Rings happened, but it was expensive. There was crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis, and none of that is an exaggeration. In fact, that's less crises than actually happened this year. And you know what we found out? Everybody complains, but everybody buys. They buy Lord of the Rings. They buy Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings. They bought the Magic the Gathering reprinted Black Lotuses. They bought every single D&D canon hardback at numbers that embarrassed every single one of their competitors in the OSR and in the indies. The best-selling OSR and indie products don't even dent the numbers on the worst-selling D&D canon. And so this is I'm going to give it to you in one sentence, all right? Hopefully one sentence, maybe two. Let's go. All right. D&D wins. It's going to be a couple sentences, a few sentences here. D&D wins because nothing Dungeons & Dragons does is ignored. OSR and indie lose because only the rarest of their creations are ever even seen by the public at large. That's it. That's what I've learned from Phandelver and below the Shattered Obelisk. This is a bog standard D&D canon adventure, and it outperforms every OSR and indie product, even in the space, with ease. D&D wins because nothing Dungeons & Dragons creates is ever ignored by the public at large. OSR and indie lose because virtually nothing they make is ever even acknowledged by the public at large. That is the shape of the tabletop role-playing game activity sphere today. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.